What if the very habit you think is helping you relax is actually killing your motivation, draining your confidence, and rewiring your brain for failure? Think you're in control? What if you've unknowingly become a slave to the one urge that's holding your entire life back? You won't hear this from your friends or your therapist, but the ancient Stoics had the answer centuries ago, and it might just change your life. We've all been told that masturbation is completely normal. It's something nearly everyone does, right? But here's the question no one dares to ask. How much is too much? How often does normal cross into addiction? And more importantly, what if you wanted to stop but couldn't? This video is here to peel back the curtain. Masturbation may seem like a harmless act, just a quick release, a stress reliever, no big deal. But what if it's actually a trap disguised as relief? A silent thief stealing your focus, confidence, and drive? Before we go deeper, let me admit something. Yes, the title might have sounded intense, but that's because this is a silent epidemic. One that's draining the willpower of millions of men and women without them even realizing it. Today, we're breaking that silence. We'll explore what's happening inside your brain, both scientifically and philosophically, and what the ancient Stoics had to say about mastering this kind of desire. Stick with me. It's about to get real. Modern medicine has made one thing clear. Masturbation is a natural part of life. In fact, we see it in animals, monkeys, dolphins, even household pets. It's instinctual. And when done in moderation, it's not inherently harmful. Science shows that male orgasm in particular triggers the release of chemicals that aid relaxation and sleep. After climax, the cerebral cortex, the part of your brain responsible for conscious thought, essentially powers down. That's why many men feel drowsy or even pass out after sex or masturbation. It's biology doing its job. But here's where things start to twist. Just because something is natural doesn't mean it's always good for you, especially when it becomes a habit that you use to escape reality, dodge discomfort, or numb emotions. Nature doesn't care about your dreams, your goals, or your potential. That's your job. So while science explains the short-term effects, we're here to explore the long-term consequences, the hidden trap inside the relief. Here's what you need to understand about what's really happening when you masturbate. When you do it, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical responsible for the feeling of pleasure, motivation, and reward. It's the same rush you get from eating junk food, scrolling social media, or gambling. That hit of dopamine makes you feel calm, satisfied, even powerful, for a moment. But here's the catch. Dopamine is addictive, and your brain quickly adapts to it. That means over time, the same amount of stimulation no longer gives you the same level of pleasure. So what do? You go back. You do it more often, you go deeper. More extreme videos, more frequent sessions. Your brain is chasing that original high. This is how addiction forms. Not from the act itself, but from the need for more stimulation to feel anything at all. You start to lose control. What began as stress relief becomes a dependency, a loop. And soon the side effects show up. Low motivation, shame, emotional numbness, anxiety, fatigue. You're not just losing energy. You're losing clarity, ambition, and drive. That's the real cost. And it gets worse. When the brain is overloaded with dopamine for too long, it fights back by reducing the number of dopamine receptors. That means even if you keep masturbating, you won't feel as much satisfaction as you used to. So you do it again and again. But the pleasure fades, and frustration grows. You become like a smoker lighting up even though it no longer gives them peace. Or someone binge-eating chocolate but feeling emptier with every bite. This is no longer about feeling good, it's about silencing discomfort. And that's a dangerous place to be. It's no longer about choice, it's about compulsion. This cycle of craving and disappointment isn't random, it's chemical. Every time you give in to the urge, you reinforce a pattern in your brain. Stress, masturbate, boredom, masturbate, anxiety, masturbate. Your brain becomes hardwired to associate pleasure with escape. And escape becomes your default response to anything uncomfortable. That's why many people end up addicted not just to masturbation, but also to pornography, meaningless sex, and extreme fantasies. It's not about desire anymore. It's about dopamine. It's about survival. And your brain will do whatever it takes to keep that pleasure loop alive, even at the cost of your peace, your purpose, and your relationships. At this point, you might be asking, what does Stoicism have to do with any of this? Everything. The Stoic philosophers Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus weren't monks or mystics. They were leaders, warriors, teachers, and they faced the same temptations we face today, just without the internet. Their philosophy was centered on one thing: mastering yourself. Not denying pleasure, but rising above the need for it. They understood that indulgence, when left unchecked, destroys character, and that real strength is forged in restraint. To the Stoics, the pursuit of pleasure wasn't wrong, but slavery to pleasure was. They believed in freedom of the soul, and freedom requires discipline. Epicurus, often misunderstood as a pleasure seeker, actually taught that pleasure should be pursued wisely. He believed the greatest joy came not from indulgence but from simplicity and moderation. The Stoics built on that. They saw moments of temptation, like the urge to masturbate, as powerful opportunities for self-growth. Instead of seeing them as sins or weaknesses, they treated them as training grounds for discipline. When you feel the urge and choose to pause, breathe, and reflect, that's a Stoic act. When you master your impulse instead of being mastered by it, that's where real power begins. Stoicism teaches us that we are not our urges. We are the space between the urge and the action, and in that space lies our freedom. Stoic reflection isn't about guilt or repression, it's about understanding. Why am I feeling this way? What am I really seeking right now? And is this action leading me closer to the person I want to become, or further away? They believed every decision shapes your soul. Every indulgence, every act of self-restraint, each one carves your character. Uncontrolled masturbation doesn't just affect your mood. It disconnects you from your highest self, from your purpose, from the harmony between body, mind, and spirit that the Stoics called living according to nature. The more you give in to impulsive desires, the further you drift from your true potential. But every act of self-control realigns you with it, moment by moment, choice by choice. Let me share a real story. Someone I knew, smart, ambitious, creative, was quietly battling compulsive masturbation. On the surface, they had everything together, but behind closed doors, they were stuck in a cycle: pleasure, guilt, numbness, anxiety. Over and over, they didn't think it was a big deal, until they realized they no longer felt excited about life. Their motivation was gone, their confidence was slipping, and they didn't recognize themselves. That's when they discovered Stoicism. They started small, reading Marcus Aurelius, journaling every morning, observing their thoughts instead of reacting to them. Every time the urge came, they'd ask, "Is this who I want to be?" Slowly, the answer became clear, and their habits began to change. It wasn't about perfection, it was about power, regaining control over their choices. And with that came clarity, confidence, peace. True satisfaction doesn't come from feeding every desire. It comes from alignment, when your actions reflect your values. The person who chases every fleeting urge eventually feels empty, but the person who chooses discipline over distraction, that's the one who builds a meaningful life. Compulsive masturbation can pull you away from your goals, your integrity, your purpose. It might not ruin your life overnight, but it chips away at your energy, your confidence, your time. And time is your most valuable currency. You can always earn more money, but you can never get back the hours you spent chasing artificial pleasure. What if you redirected that energy toward your fitness, your goals, your passion project, your future partner, your legacy? If you're watching this, maybe you're feeling a little called out. Or maybe you're already on the journey to self-mastery. Either way, here's what I want you to write in the comments right now. I am a powerful person. I have control over my mind. I choose what improves me. I choose what empowers me. Let that be your declaration, your commitment, your turning point. You are not broken. You are not weak. You're just learning how to win the battle that starts in the mind. And you are stronger than you think. Thank you for staying with me to the end. If this message resonated with you, don't let it fade. Take action. Reflect. Write. Train. Redirect your energy toward the life you truly want. And if you want more content like this, raw, honest, stoic, empowering, make sure to subscribe to Stoic Voyage. Every week we drop videos to help you sharpen your discipline, master your mind, and live with purpose. This is your journey, and it starts now.